The gunshot cracked through the dusk, sharp and final, and I saw Max, my dog, my shadow crumple in the dirt, blood pooling under him.
All those racist white cops stood there, grinning, their badges glinting like a sick joke. I'm Nathan Rourke, ex-Navy SEAL, call sign Ghost. And Max wasn't just a pet, he was my lifeline, the one who pulled me from the dark after the SEALs chewed me up. They thought they'd flex power, silence me with a bullet in him. They didn't know they just lit a fuse. I've tracked men through jungles, killed with my hands. I'll bury these bastards for what they took. This isn't revenge, it's justice, and it's coming hard. Stick around, you're about to see a war they'll never win.
The day ended quiet, the kind of stillness I'd learned to distrust after 15 years in the SEALs. I was in the backyard, tossing a ball for Max, my German shepherd, 10 years old, gray around the muzzle, but sharp as ever. He'd been with me since Afghanistan, pulled me out of a bottle when the nightmares hit too hard. His bark was low, playful, as he chased the ball into the dusk. Then the cruiser rolled up, tires crunching gravel, lights off, 2 white cops stepping out like they owned my land. Rourke, the big one, sneered. Officer Tate, buzz cut, gut spilling over his belt. Your mutt's been barking too much, neighbor complained. Bullshit. We were half a mile from anyone. Max trotted over, tail wagging slow, sizing them up. He knew trouble before I did. The other cop, Jensen, twitchy with a rookie's nerves, drew his Glock. Keep it back, he snapped. I stepped forward, hands up, voice calm, but steel underneath. He's no threat. Put it away. Tate grinned, pulled his own piece, faster than I expected for a slob. Naw, think we'll handle it. The shot cracked before I could move. Max yelped, a sound that ripped through me and hit the dirt, wool pooling under him. I lunged, roaring, but Jensen's gun swung to my chest. Back off, SEAL, he spat. Tate laughed, holstered up. Next time it's you, boy. Stay quiet. They peeled out, dust swirling, leaving me kneeling by Max. His breath gone, eyes dull. I touched his fur, still warm. The last piece of my old life, the one who'd sat with me through the dark. Afghanistan flashed, Max dragging me from a burning Humvee, his teeth on my sleeve, loyal when men weren't. Now he was dead, killed by racist trash with badges. My fists clenched, dirt mixing with his blood. They'd pay, not just for Max, but for thinking they could break me. I stood, the ghost waking inside. SEAL skills, cold rage, a war they'd never see coming. I'd bury them all. The night swallowed the yard, as I carried Max inside, his weight heavy in my arms, blood soaking my jacket. I laid him on the kitchen floor, the linoleum cold against his fur, and grabbed a shovel from the garage. Burying him felt wrong. Too final, but I couldn't leave him out there. Each spadeful of dirt was a promise. Tate and Jensen wouldn't walk away from this. I'd make it slow, make it hurt. The SEAL in me, Ghost, was awake, calculating, ready. I cleaned up, hands steady, despite the ache in my chest, and pulled my go-bag from the closet. SEAL habit, always packed, suppressed Sig Sauer, knife, burner phone, cash. Max's collar sat on the table, tags jingling as I brushed it. 10 years of loyalty, gone in a trigger pull. Afghanistan hit me hard then. 2012, Helmand. An IED flipped our convoy. I was pinned, leg broken, fire licking closer. Max dragged me out, 60 pounds of grit against the odds. He'd earned his scars, I'd earned mine. Now he was a memory, and I was a weapon. The burner buzzed. Hank, my old spotter, voice rough as gravel. Nate, heard a shot. You good? I clenched the phone. They killed Max. Tate and Jensen. Cops, racist bastards. Silence, then a curse. I'm coming. Where? Old warehouse, Route 9, I said. Bring your kit. He didn't hesitate. Hank knew war, knew me. He'd been burned by cops too, framed for a bar fight, lost his pension. This was personal for him now. I rode out on my Harley, the rumble a low growl under the stars, Max's collar in my pocket. The warehouse loomed, rusted, abandoned, our old meat spot. Hank was there, 50, grizzled, hauling a duffel. rifles, ammo, a man who'd spot a sniper at 800 yards blind. "They're dead men," he said, clapping my shoulder. I nodded, spreading a map. "First we dig. Why, Max?" Tate's smirk flashed. There was more here. I'd find it, then end them. The warehouse was a cave of dust and shadows, the bulb flickering as Hank and I pored over the map. Oakville, small town hell. Oakville, small town hell. My home for 5 years since retiring. "Tate's crew runs the east side," Hank said, tapping a grid. "Heard whispers, drugs, protection rackets. Max might have sniffed something." I nodded. Max's nose was SEAL-trained, could smell C4 a mile off. Maybe he'd barked at the wrong truck. I pulled my laptop, hacked the PD's dispatch logs. Old SEAL trick. Back doors never die. Calls about stray dogs near my place. All fake, all from the same burner. In setup. Then a report. Tate and Jensen, off duty, logged a stop at a warehouse district last week. "They're dirty," I said, gut twisting. "Covering something big." Hank grinned. "Dark. Let's poke it." We hit the district at midnight. Industrial sprawl, quiet but for crickets. I parked a block out, moved on foot, Hank covering with a scoped M4. Third building, padlocked, lights flickering inside. I cut the chain, slipped in, crates, kilos of white powder stacked high, coke millions worth. Footsteps, 2 cops, not Tate, counting cash. I signaled Hank. He took the roof, silenced shot dropping one through a skylight. I moved, knife to the second's throat. "Quiet. Who's running this?" I hissed. He choked. "Tate, Chief Ramsey. Don't kill me." I zip-tied him, left him gagged. Back at base, I sat, Max's collar in hand, the pieces clicking. Ramsey, Oakville's top cop, silver hair, fake smiles, ran a drug ring. Tate his muscle. Max died because I lived too close, asked too many questions. Hank watched me, steady. "We hit Tate first." I nodded. "Slow." He pulled the trigger. "He's mine." The war had a face now, too, really. I'd carve them both down. Tate's house was a squat ranch on the edge of town. Lights off, truck in the drive. I'd tracked him here, watched him stumble in drunk an hour back. Hank scouted the perimeter. Radio crackling.
"One guard. Back porch. Sloppy." I smirked.
"Amateurs. Take him," I said, moving low, cig in hand. Hank's shot whispered. Guard down. Clean through the neck. We breached. Silent. Kitchen stank of beer. TV blaring infomercials. Tate snored on the couch. Gut heaving. Glock on the table. I stood over him. Max's collar in my pocket. Rage simmering. I kicked the table. Gun clattered. He jolted awake.
"Rourke?"
He slurred, reaching. I pinned his arm. Knee on his chest. Cig to his temple. "Max," I growled.
"Why?"
He sneered, breath sour.
"Your mutt got nosy."
Ramsey's orders. Should have stayed quiet, SEAL. I cracked his jaw with the butt. Blood sprayed. He howled. "Where's Ramsey?" He spat, defiant. "Screw you." Hank stepped in, knife gleaming. Slid it under Tate's nail. "Slow. Talk." Tate screamed. Broke. Precinct safe room. He's spooked. I zip-tied him. Dragged him to the garage. Left him hog-tied in his own truck. "Live for now," I said. "Tell Ramsey I'm coming." We torched the stash house on the way out. Gasoline. A match. Flames roaring up. The blast rattled windows. A signal. Ghost was hunting. Hank clapped my shoulder. "One down." I nodded. But Max's yelp echoed in my skull. Tate was a start. Ramsey was the head. I'd cut it off. Slow and sure. Back at the warehouse, I cleaned my cig, hand steady but mind churning. Tate's words gnawed. Ramsey's safe room. Precinct fortress. A coward's hole. Hank spread blueprints. Stolen from a contact. Old army buddy turned clerk. 2 ways in, he said, tracing. U.S. Taching. Fronts locked. Guards. Cameras. Rear's a loading dock. Less watched, but tight. I nodded, picturing it. SEAL infill. Urban style.
"Og,"
I said. We go quiet, then loud. Hank unzipped his duffel. Suppressor for my cig. C4 bricks. Flashbangs, like Kabul. He grinned. I smirked, memory flashing. 2010, we'd hit a Taliban safe house. Hank spotting, me breaching, Max flushing targets. We'd lost a man that day, Reyes kid from Texas. All ED got him. Hank took it hard, blamed himself. You good? I asked now. He nodded, eyes dark. For Max, yeah. These cops framed me. Bar fight, planted dope. OM. I paused, Max's collar cold in my hand. He'd sniff Ramsey out, I said, voice low. Saved me more times than I count. Now I'm saving him. Hank gripped my shoulder. We will. We planned. Hit at 3 a.m. Doc breach. C4 on the safe room door. Force Ramsey out. End it. I'd use the town. Alleys. Shadows. Not just guns. Tate's scream echoed. First blood. Not last. Ramsey'd feel the ghost soon. The precinct loomed at 3 a.m. Brick and steel. Floodlights harsh. Hank parked a stolen van a block out. Me in the shadows. Gear tight. Sig, knife, C4 vest. 4 outside. Hank whispered, scope up. 2 roof, 2 gate. I nodded. Roof first you. I'll take gate. He climbed a drain pipe. Silent. Old man moved like 30. 2 pops. Roof clear. I moved. Alley to gate. Guard 1 got a knife to the spine. Guard 2 a choke hold. Till he dropped. Doc was quiet. Crates. A lone cop. Smoking. I crept. Snapped his neck. Clean. No sound. Hank joined. C4 ready. Hank joined. C4 ready. 10 minutes, he said, planting it on the steel door. Safe room below. We backed off. Flashbangs prepped. The blast shook the ground. Door shredded. Alarms, screaming. Cops poured out. 6. Panicked. Arkansas. 15s waving. I tossed a bang. Flash. Disarray. Hank picked 2 off. I dropped 2 with the SIG. Precise. Ramsey's voice barked from below. Hold 'em. I charged. Hank covering. Stairs tight. A choke point. 1 cop lunged. Shotgun blast. Grazed my arm. Hot. I rolled. Put a round through his chest. Red mist. Ramsey was close. Barricaded. You're dead, Rourke, he yelled. I grinned. Cold. Max says hi. The war was here. Hank and I. Seal ghosts. Tearing their world apart. The precinct's basement was a concrete maze. Smoke curling from the blasted safe room door. Lights flickering. The air thick with cordite. My arm burned where the shotgun grazed it. Blood soaking my sleeve, but I pushed it down. Pain was an old friend. Hank followed. M4 steady. His breathing calm like Kabul nights. 3 left, he whispered, nodding to shadows ahead. Ramsey's last stand, holed up with 2 loyal dogs. I took point, SIG raised, moving low along the wall. Footsteps echoed. A cop rounded the corner. Panicked. Arkansas swinging wild. I fired. 2 shots, chest and head. Clean drop. Hank grunted approval. One's jittery, he said, ear cocked. Ramsey's yelling. Oi! It a chief's voice. Ragged. Barking orders. Hold the bastard. I smirked. Ghost didn't hold. Ghost hunted. We hit a junction. Left to storage. Right to Ramsey. I signaled right, but a memory stopped me. Max. Helmand. Sniffing a trap. His growl saved us from an ambush. Wait, I hissed. Checking storage. Crates. Ammo. A duffel spilling cash. Drug money. Cover. I told Hank. Rigging a flashbang on a tripwire. Seal instinct. Use what's there. We moved on. Quieter now. Predators in the dark. Ramsey's room loomed. Steel door cracked. Light spilling. I peeked him behind a desk. Silver hair wild. 45 shaking. 1 cop pacing. Jittery. As Hank said. I tossed the bang. Flash. Screams. They fired blind. Bullets chewing concrete. I rolled in. SIG spitting. Jittery cop took it in the shoulder. Dropped howling. Ramsey ducked. Cursing. You're nothing, Rourke. I advanced. Slow. Max's collar heavy in my pocket. Tell that to my dog. Ramsey's safe room stank of sweat and fear. Desk overturned, papers scattered, a radio crackling static. Hank flanked left, M4 trained, while I closed on Ramsey. His .45 wavered, sweat beading on his forehead. "You're dead," he spat, voice cracking. "Whole force'll hunt you." I stepped closer. Sig steady, blood dripping from my arm. "They'll hunt a ghost," I said. Cold. "Why, Max?" He sneered, defiant. Your mutt stuck his nose in my business, barked at a drop. Tate handled it. My fist clenched. Max died for a drug run, a petty power play. I lunged, knocked his gun aside, slammed him into the wall. His head cracked plaster. "Who's above you?" I growled, knife at his throat. He choked. "No one my show, liar." Hank stepped in, eyes hard. "He's covering, seen it before." A shot rang. Jittery cop, back up, pistol wild. Hank dove, took it in the vest, grunted, returned fire, dropped him permanent. "I'm good," Hank rasped, wincing. I turned back to Ramsey, blade pressing, blood trickled. "Names." He gasped. "Drexler, DEA. He takes a cut. Bingo. Higher than I thought." I zip-tied him, left him slumped. "Hank, we're blown. Move." Alarms wailed. Backup closing. I dragged Ramsey, Hank limping, up the stairs. Dock exit, van waiting. We piled in, tires squealing, as lights flashed outside. "Drexler," I muttered, mind racing. DEA, meant feds, a bigger web. Max's death wasn't random. It was a thread I'd pulled till it unraveled. Hank coughed, grinned. "Good start, Ghost." The van rattled down back roads, Hank at the wheel, me in the back with Ramsey, tied, gagged, glaring hate. My arm throbbed, makeshift bandage soaked, but I ignored it. Focus kept me sharp. Hank glanced back. "Precinct's a hornet's nest now. Drexler'll know soon." I nodded, pulling Max's collar, tracing the tags. "Good! Let 'em buzz. I'll sting harder." We hit an old hunting cabin. Hank's bolt hole, miles from Oakville, pines shielding it. Inside I dumped Ramsey in a corner, patched my arm, stitches sloppy but tight. Hank slumped, vest off, bruise blooming where the slug hit. "Reyes took worse," he said, voice low. I froze. "Reyes, our kid, gone in Kabul." Hank carried that guilt, same as I carried Max. "You saved me today," I said. He smirked. "Payback, cops took my life too." I sat, mind turning. Drexler, DEA, a ghost above Ramsey. I needed proof, leverage. Ramsey mumbled through the gag. "You're screwed, Rourke." I yanked it off. "Talk." Drexler's play. He spat blood. "Meets tomorrow. Laredo. Warehouse. Big drop." I taped him back, looked at Hank. "We hit it. End this web." He nodded, pulling a map. "Two-man op. Quiet in. Loud out. Like old times." I gripped Max's collar, memory sharp. Him curled by my cot. Post-mission, eyes steady when mine weren't. "For you, boy," I whispered. Hank watched, silent, knew the weight. Tomorrow, Laredo. Drexler'd meet the ghost, and I'd bury Ramsey's world with him. Laredo shimmered under noon heat, warehouses baking, river stinking nearby. We ditched the van, rode bikes. Mine a Harley, Hank's a battered Triumph, less conspicuous. Ramsey's intel pinned Drexler, 3 p.m. Warehouse 17, big drop, coke, cash, cartel ties. "Tasha the Piaz, escort sectorman. Lizinga Freya." 4 guards outside, Hank said, scoping from a rooftop. "More in maybe 10. I nodded, adjusting my vest. Sig, knife, 2 flashbangs. We split, dock and roof. I hit the dock, riverside, rusted cranes looming. 2 guards smoked, lazy. Knife took one, silent, chokehold the other. I dragged them into shadows, signaled Hank. His shots whispered, roof clear. Inside was chaos, crates stacked, men counting, Drexler's voice barking, 40s, slick suit, DEA badge clipped wrong. I crept, using crates for cover, seal stealth, slow and sure. Hank breached high, skylight drop, flashbang rolling, light flared, shouts, guards scrambled. I moved, Sig coughed, 2 down, precise. Drexler ducked, pulling a Glock. fast for a desk jockey. He yelled, recognizing me. Ramsey squealed. I dove, bullet grazing my vest, and flanked, knife out, slashed his wrist. Gun clattered. He howled. Hank pinned 2 more. Shots clean. Bodies dropped. I hauled Drexler up, face bloody. Ramsey's done your turn. Who's the top? He sneered. You're a dead man. I twisted his arm. Snap, he screamed. Moreno Juarez, cartel. Higher still. Hank rigged C4. 5 minutes. We dragged Drexler out, warehouse burning behind. Millions in flames. Sirens wailed. Too late. The web stretched. Moreno next. The bikes roared from Laredo. Drexler tied across Hank's gag broken a trophy. My vest chafed, graze stinging. But Max's collar steadied me. War wasn't cheap. We hit the cabin at dusk, dumped Drexler beside Ramsey. 2 snakes coiled and hissing. A Moreno, I said, pacing. Cartel King Juarez. Hank nodded, cleaning his M4. Big fish feds'll want him. I sat staring at Max's tags, scratched, worn like me. After Kabul, I'd crashed. Booze, fights, ghosts of Reyes and others. Max stayed, slept by my boots, pulled me back when I wanted out. He'd smell Moreno a mile off, I said, voice rough. Hank looked up, eyes old. Cops took my dog too. 98. Planted evidence. I get it, Nate. I nodded. Brothers in loss, forged in blood. Ramsey stirred, mumbling. You're finished. I kicked his ribs, crack, he wheezed. Your empire's ash, I said. Drexler's next. Hank rigged a burner, streamed Ramsey's confession. Drexler's dropped details. Feds swarm soon. Tate, Hank asked. I grinned. Dark. Tomorrow. Public. He pulled the trigger. We planned. Tate at the precinct gate. Tied. Proof pinned. End him loud. Moreno loomed. But tonight was ours. 2 seals. A dead dog's justice. Hank clapped my shoulder. Max'd be proud. I gripped the collar. Damn right he would. Dawn broke gray over the cabin. A cold edge to the air as I checked my gear. Sig cleaned, knife sharp. Max's collar tucked in my pocket. Hank brewed coffee, strong and black. His hands steady despite the bruise on his chest. Ramsey and Drexler slumped in the corner. Bound, beaten. 2 trophies of a war half won. Tate's next, I said, voice low. Precinct gate, public. Let him see. Hank nodded, sipping. Make it loud. Cops hate shame more than bullets. He'd rigged the burner last night. Ramsey's confession. Drexler's dropped details, streamed to every news outlet in Texas. Oakville was waking to chaos. PD swarmed. Feds inbound. Tate be there, sweating, thinking he'd dodged me. Wrong. I hauled him from his garage an hour back. Hog-tied, gagged, stinking of fear in the van's trunk. We rolled out at 7 a.m. Hank driving, me in back with Tate, the precinct a mile off. I leaned close, pulled his gag. Max died for your smirk, I said. Cold. He spat, defiant. You're nothing. Ramsey'll. I cut him off. Fist to his gut. Air wheezed out. Ramsey's done. You're the show. I taped the confession to his chest. Written, bold. I killed the SEAL's dog. Ramsey runs drugs. The precinct buzzed. Cops milling. News vans clogging the street. Hank stopped a block out. I dragged Tate. Dumped him at the gate. Zip tied to a pole. Sign flapping. For Max, I muttered, stepping back. Cameras flashed. Shouts erupted. Tate, what's this? He screamed. Rourke's crazy. Too late. Feds rolled in. Cuffs out. I melted into an alley. Hank covering. Justice loud, like he'd said. Max's ghost smiled somewhere. Juarez hit like a furnace, dust and heat choking the air. Warehouses baking under a noon sun. We rode in. Harley and Triumph. Low rumble blending with the city's pulse. Armeno's meet was south side. Sprawling compound. Guards pacing. Cartel flags. Flapping. Hank scoped from a rooftop. 800 yards out. 6 outside, he whispered. Radio crackling. More in trucks loading. I nodded. Vest snug. Sig. Knife. C4 brick. Roof first. You. I'll flank. I hit the west fence. Wire cut, shadows deep, 2 guards chatting, sloppy. Knife took one. Throat slit, silent, the other got a chokehold, neck snapped. Hank's shots hissed, roof clear. I breached a side door inside, stank of sweat, coke stacked high, voices barking Spanish. Moreno loomed, 50s, lean scars, crisscrossing his face, barking orders. I crept, crates my shield, seal patience, no rush. Hank dropped in, skylight flashbang rolling, light flared, chaos erupted. I moved, Sig coughed, 2 guards down, headshots tight. Moreno spun, pulling a point, 4-5, fast, trained, he roared, firing. I dove, slug grazing my vest, and flanked, knife slashed his leg. He stumbled, Hank pinned 3 more, shots precise, bodies dropped. I grabbed Moreno, pinned him. Your cops killed my dog, I snarled. Game's up, he laughed, blood dripping. You're a fly, my cartel's a hive. I twisted his arm. Crack, he howled. Feds have Drexler, your hive's ash. Hank rigged the C4. 5 minutes. We dragged Moreno out. Compound burned. Millions torched. Guards scattering. Sirens wailed. Federals. Late. Moreno was mine. Last link. Breaking. Dusk settled over Juarez, smoke rising from Moreno's ruin. We dumped him at a Federal outpost, tied, gagged, burner taped with every deal, every name. Feds swarm. Cartel gutted. Oakville's web snapped. Hank split. Back to Texas, he said, clapping my shoulder. You're a bastard, Ghost, but the good kind. I grinned. You too, old man. I rode north, Harley growling, Max's collar in my pocket, tags jingling, a quiet comfort. Tate, Ramsey, Drexler, Moreno. Gone, justice hard won. The road stretched, Texas flatlands calling, Oakville a memory. I stopped at Max's grave, dirt packed, a stone I'd carved, loyal till the end. I knelt, tracing it. Got him, boy, I said, voice rough. Hellman flashed, his teeth on my sleeve, dragging me from fire. He'd saved me then, I'd avenged him now. The burner buzzed Hank. Feds nabbed Moreno's lieutenants, clean sweep. You're clear. I nodded to the dusk. Good, what's next? He chuckled. Beer, maybe, till the next fight. I smirked. Seals didn't rest, not really. Moreno's hive was ash, but wasps always buzzed somewhere. I'd be ready. Ghost didn't sleep. I mounted the bike, wind cutting sharp. Max's weight with me. Not loss, but strength. They'd shot my dog, ignited a war, lost everything. Oakville's cops, Moreno's cartel, buried by a seal and his shadow. The highway opened, free, fierce, mine. For Max, for Hank, for me. It was enough.